You're listening to Switch On, a podcast to shape the principles of modern leadership. We will be discussing the real experience with successful leaders and learn from them how are they tackling real-life, real-time challenges and build on their learnings for tomorrow's success. In this series, we'll focus on how we are bringing vision to life. Having a purpose, a vision alone, is not enough to be successful. Both require action. Without action, vision is nothing more than a dream. The key to success is to stay focused and be realistic about the current situation, and then learn perfect along the way. But as soon as we identify it, we need to start living it. Moving from vision to reality is not easy, especially when the changes keep coming at us so fast. So we need to be willing to adapt along the way and remember that the journey is as important as destination. When taking on the necessary steps, big or small, we are usually not alone when implementing change. And these steps are not perfect, but we have to take a risk, remain focused and consistent in our delivery of value. Today we'll talk about a case when a company decided to take on a new challenge, to take a new journey, wanting to transform themselves while transforming their customers. So I'm excited to have Mateja Lavrič with me today. Mateja is a managing director at Kolektor Ventures, a corporate venture capital fund investing in startups that work with exponential technologies and developing solutions for industrial environment. She is also a member of Kolektor Digital core team, a new emerging business unit established by multinational enterprise Kolektor that is developing solutions for smart factories. Welcome, Mateja.
Hello, welcome.
Great to have you with us. You strongly believe in open innovation and entrepreneurship because they move the boundaries of what is known. Tell us more about your ambition. What is driving you?
I gave some thought about my drives regarding the business. So when I'm thinking about what is basically pushing me forward, I would say that I'm really passionate about change and making things from scratch. So basically, I really enjoy if I get something which is really new on my table, and my task is to develop things. But I'm not a developer, you know. I don't have a technical background, but I really enjoy when I have the possibility to make things for better, or to leave the footprint on the business playground. So this is basically my drive.
Such a relevant topic today. Sometimes when a company decides to seek new growth outside of traditional operating models, there are rarely enough resources in-house to address the opportunity. When your company decided to enter the digital arena, a fully new environment for you coming from a traditional and mature segment, you have also identified you are missing certain competencies and knowledge so that you can become recognized as an innovative company in the field of corporate and social environment through digitalization. That is why you have used actually Kolektor Venture capabilities to attract new products and innovation to fuel new growth. Tell us more.
Well, this was something new for our mother company. I'm really glad that I have an opportunity to participate in this, I would say, growth strategy of Kolektor. We are a manufacturing company, and a couple of years ago, management or the board of the managers really was seeking for the opportunities to grow. So we saw the opportunity to grow in exponential technologies in digitalization. But this is really, I would say, a broad term. So basically, it's like a universe, yeah. So the decision was to exploit the domain knowledge in manufacturing, in industrial environment, because the company has a tradition of more than 60 years in manufacturing, and we know I would say, the physics of production processes. So basically, we were trying to take advantage of this know-how and join it with exponential technologies. And the idea behind was that we would try to develop solutions for companies like Kolektor who have certain pain points, and we are trying to solve those pain points. But the challenge that we were faced at the beginning was that we had a domain knowledge, but you didn't have, I would say, expertise in artificial intelligence, advanced analytics, in I would say, advanced robotics. So something that we also didn't have is time. So we knew from the start that the possibility, or we would not go into building our own internal development team because it takes time. And this is why Kolektor Ventures as a corporate VC fund was established, because we try to take the principle of open innovation from theory to practice. It's not really always an easy process, I must admit, but this was I would say, the solution that works best for our, I would say, development processes. So basically, we try to cooperate with different stakeholders in our development process, and we established Kolektor Ventures in order to invest in potential startups that have the technologies or that have the know-how that can be implemented in industrial environment. So we act as investor, as a strategic investor. We try to cooperate with invested startups on the development field, but we also cooperate with not invested startups, with I would say, other startup companies, with established IT companies, with academia, research institutes, and also with freelancers, which are, I would say, top on a certain competence.
What would you say are the key criteria you are considering for investment?
I used to say that the team is extremely important, and I didn't change my mind during the years. And also the market potential. So basically, we are trying also to, I would say, to envision the fit between the startup and the corporation, or the startup and other participants in open innovation model. But I would say the team is the key component, because at the end of the day, you rely on the people, yeah? And usually when you look at the startups, they pivot a lot. So basically, they can change their value proposition. They can even change the product that they are developing when they are screening the market and so on. But I think that the most important thing is that you have a people who are able to go through all the stages in the startup development. So basically, through all the peaks and all the downhills that the startup life is bringing on their plate. And they have to be stable, they have to be able to cooperate, and they have to, I would say, also take lessons from, I would say, not so pleasant experience during their startup life.
It's not every day that happens that a big enterprise connects with a startup, right? How are you addressing the challenges that you are facing when this occasion nevertheless occurs, right? And you're meeting new people with expert knowledge, with expertise, where you see the potential?
Well, I must say that there are a lot of challenges because I think that there are differences, especially culture ones, between corporations and startups. I think that, I don't know, a lot of, I would say, debates and literature says that you shouldn't marry startup and corporate culture because they are too different. To some extent, I agree. I think that the merger of two cultures doesn't bring results because it's really time consuming, it's stressful, and it really basically doesn't have a good outcome. So you have to learn how to listen to each other and how to, I would say, cooperate without risking, I would say, the benefits that you have on each side. So the fact is that we have a different culture because corporations are usually structured, well organized, because they are big, and this is really something that is necessary. Yeah? And startups are usually very flexible, lean. They are agile. They have a different approach towards the development process. And this is something that is very, I would say, positive while being a startup. So you have to join the two together. You have to take into account that each side on the development or on this corporation process has different expectations. Yeah. Usually corporations expect that startups have the same, I would say, procedures, the same logic and so on, like a corporation, but they don't, and this is a plus. Yeah. And sometimes startups expect things from corporation that are not really, I would say, elaborated in practice. It is funny because we underestimate the communication aspect or the language that we speak. Yeah, this is really in practice. There have been some, I would say, comic situations because we are all talking about the same thing but from different perspectives, and we don't understand each other. So
you don't agree, I presume, as well.
Yeah, and you don't agree. So basically, I think that if you are aware that there are differences between the way we work, the way we function, the way they develop, and the way we communicate, you can mitigate those risks because I'm sure, and my experience shows that the cooperation between, I would say, startup companies and established companies can be very beneficial to both, because we can work together. We can have synergies because cooperation can give a startup reliability. They can open the market and so on because they have established relationships. And I always say startups in our portfolio because they want to grow, and I say to them, so you can look at one big company which you don't like at the moment, but you are heading towards this direction. So basically, your goal is to become a big, organized structure and sometimes slow company, because when you will be big enough, you will have to be more structured and organized. So take advantage of what you have in a certain point of time and make the best.
So basically, the two teams are learning from each other, absorbing new knowledge from each other. But in a way, this new team, right, that is joining you is actually transforming the existing one.
Yeah, in a way, yes, because in Kolektor's case, we have more than 5,000 employees at the moment. Basically, our collaboration with startups is more or less limited to Kolektor Digital, the part of the Kolektor that develops solutions for smart factories. And we had I would say, we had an intention to move this, I would say, the development a bit outside of the traditional manufacturing processes of Kolektor, just in order to facilitate a different development process. But at the same time, we keep in touch with our mother company because we have a perfect playground when we can test POCs, we can deploy first pilots and so on, and we can, I would say, really take advantage of the domain knowledge. But on the other side, I think that startups can also bring a kind of a fresh breeze to the established company, and I think that this was also in Kolektor's case, because especially employees who are younger in Kolektor really perceive the cooperation with startups in a positive way. So basically, that a company is doing something differently because we work in mature industries which used to be stable for a couple of decades, yeah, and things are changing now. You have to be really different. You have to work differently, even though you are an established company.
Yeah, win-win for both.
Yeah.
To facilitate the recognition of genuine innovative breakthroughs, you're also connecting with research institutes, universities, and the artificial intelligence laboratory, Josef Stefan, and you link those developments to commercial usage, where the change you're implementing requires a different approach to work and demands a different way of working. How are you making it work internally? You've mentioned earlier finding a new balance, new knowledge coming in, established processes, established operating models in-house. How is this new approach changing how you collaborate?
Well, Kolektor has a long tradition of collaboration with research institutes and universities and so on. Also in the field of, I would say, traditional development and basic research. So I must say that collaborating with academics is not really something new to us. But the difference that we made in Kolektor Digital is that we have to develop things a bit more fast than we used to, because I would say lifetime cycles of software solutions are much shorter than of, I don't know, one product that is integrated in a I would say in a car or something like this, where the typical development cycle is about 2 years. So you have time to develop and there are, I would say, predefined stages of the development. So basically, we had to build a kind of innovation platform, which is called Kolektor Labs. It's internal accelerator, where we basically support agile development, and we use all the, I would say, contemporary methods of development. So basically, we try to use sprint development, agile methods, and so on. And we basically use these methods also while we are collaborating with research institutes, with universities, or even with established IT companies.
How does this change actually, or this approach influence your reach out to market when you're entering this new pond?
Well, this was quite interesting when we were taking the first steps to the market, because those solutions are now basically going out of the pilot phase towards the industrialization or the productivization. And this was a complete diversification for Kolektor, because we are developing solutions that we have not been developing in the past. We are addressing different markets, and basically we are, I would say, getting in touch with customers that demand a different approach, because I would say automotive industry, which is our, I would say, main pillar, requires completely different, I would say, marketing and sales techniques, like when you are selling a software solution to established companies. So we had to develop completely, I would say, new ways of approaching the market, and we had to, I would say, do a lot of mental work in order to change this perception that we have to develop completely, I don't know, digital ways of doing B2B business, because usually traditional B2B business in mature industries is personal sales. And especially during our after COVID situation, everything has changed, and everything is more accelerated. So we have to keep pace also on the, I would say, business development part.
It's a unique segment with their own specifics and opportunities. Yeah. And these tough market conditions are driving your customers to rethink their manufacturing capabilities. And maybe even for the first time, C-suite executives are starting to understand the deep importance of their operations and their opportunities of new and exciting visions around smart manufacturing. Yet just saying this is the direction we want to take is not enough for the change to happen. Solution purchase often means organizational change. When you as a vendor are in a position to help your customers build the bridge from status quo to change, how are you motivating your customers to transform? Or how are you boosting their confidence that they are making the right decisions? What works for you and what doesn't?
We are developing solutions that are new to the market. So basically we are addressing early adopters, in some cases early majority, because Industry 4.0 is a buzzword. Everybody thinks that you have to digitalize or otherwise you will be too late in order to stay competitive. But in practice, companies really do have a challenge because there are a couple of solutions that are really new, and it's hard to pick the right solution in order to, I would say, to achieve the company's KPIs. So I must say that it's not really easy to persuade somebody to make a digital transformation. If you want to transform, if you want to change, this has to come from your side or from customer side, because you will be able to change yourself only if you feel good enough pain, or only if you have, I would say, problems that are really aching you and you are trying to solve them. So we are trying to, I would say, look for the companies that have similar pain points as Kolektor, because we understand them very well. And we can persuade companies by our own example, because usually when you are selling IT solutions to manufacturing companies or industrial partners, usually you convince them if you show them how the software works in real production environment. So basically we had to build a demo factory, a small demo factory in our shop floor, where we can show potential customers all the solutions that work in practice in real environment on live data, and they have an opportunity to speak to the people who use those solutions so that they can get a feedback from actual users. So this proved to be, I would say, the most valuable way of getting those solutions closer to the customers. When I was talking at the beginning, it is really hard for manufacturing company today to pick the right solution, because sometimes they really, I don't know, go into one singular solution and they expect that this solution will solve all the problems. This is not true, because you have to make a strategy. I don't know, you are making a strategy for your company. So basically you have to make a strategy how you will digital yourself, how basically you will implement, I don't know, high-tech solutions in your shop floor, in your business processes, in order to achieve something. And this something is basically a business goal of the company, the KPIs that can be financial, operational, or of any other kind. So you do need to assess where do you stand today and where do you want to be in the future, and then you are just filling this gap between the current state and the future state. And this is called the strategy for digital transformation, which is nothing that which is frightful or something like this, but it gives you a good insight in the current state of, I would say, digitalization of your company.
And also the early adopters, they are more comfortable with technology products, and usually they provide feedback to the vendor, help them to refine the product features, design, distribution, support as well. But there is some urgency, and you already mentioned time is an important factor to be able to drive and implement the new trends. How is this shaping your approach to customers? You have already mentioned demo, but how are you bringing your customers and partners into this conversation?
Well, if we are addressing early adopters, an early majority, this means that we are presenting them with the solutions that are not known or tested and something like this. So basically, we do have to do our, I would say, fair share of education, or I would say the explanation how a certain solution is positioning itself in the current landscape of IT solutions for manufacturing companies, and what is the distinction. So what is the difference between established solutions and new solutions? So basically, we do have to put a lot of effort in, I would say, in promotion or in educational activities regarding the offer that we are presenting to the market.
But it's a two-way street, right? You have already mentioned early adoption can also be viewed as a form of testing in early stages of the product's life cycle. How are you integrating new learnings that you're getting through the process, new insights about customer business, learning about their decision process, what is important to them if you want, to fuel your development so that your solutions become scalable?
Well, this, I would say, early development is basically done with the customers. So they are the integral part of the development process, and they are very valuable. So we are acting as a, I would say, typical startup, because usually startups develop their solutions with first customers, and we are not different. So basically, our first customers are really shaping the way our solutions will look in the future, because usually I would say that we take them into development process when we are implementing pilots. Yeah. So basically, the intention of every pilot installation is to really listen to the needs of the customer and to, I would say, adapt the solution according to their needs. But we have to be aware that every customer has its own needs. So basically, if you want to develop a scalable solution, you have to, I would say, be able to depict, I would say, common problems. Otherwise, the solution will not be scalable. Otherwise, you will be just, I would say, on another customized project. But I would like to stress that first customers are really an integral part of the development, and they are very, very valuable to us.
Yeah, fully agree. because all these discussions in B2B environment have changed, and everybody is learning that your key contact is not alone making the purchase decision anymore. There's also a buying committee on the customer side comprised of different roles, each with their own ambition, each with their own need to satisfy. How are you addressing the gap between decision makers and roles who need to give the final okay for the purchase and the actual user of the solution? You mentioned this fragile relationship before. How are you tackling this?
Yeah, our sales process is really complicated because different roles on the customer side enter into the sales process. You have to convince the CEO, who has different, I would say, vision of what you will bring to the table. The actual users have actual and really concrete or tangible, I would say, problems that they want to solve. And then you have also the IT department, who has their own technical demands regarding the IT solution, because you are always integrated in a bigger story or in some other system. So we are trying to tackle this with a different approach or different presentation for, I would say, each customer's persona in the sales process. And we are trying basically to listen to the customer very well. So I think that the biggest challenge is to really listen what are the actual pain points of a certain customer and of each user in the company, regardless whether this is the CEO of the company or, I don't know, the MRP planner in the production shop floor. So you have to listen and you have to really identify the pain points that are basically worth of addressing and that are the real pain points, because usually people are inclined to, I would say, solve the local problem, and sometimes when they are really in a difficulties regarding their operational work, they don't see the bigger picture, and we do have to see the bigger picture because this is really important for the company, so that we don't solve only the local problems, so that we bring the bigger result to the company with the implementation of our solutions.
So it's about providing value to each individual role from their own perspective, which gives you an opportunity to better understand their environment and also to learn from them about the challenges that they're facing.
Yeah.
And actually, this puts you in a position that you are able to be with them step by step on their journey going forward through their transformation. But paving the road from vision to reality is a step-by-step approach when sometimes you win and sometimes things don't go as expected. But you learn much along the way and grow from there. Once you said to me, I'm here to ensure things are running smoothly and those are going in the right direction. This means you need to constantly balance between being strategic yet operational to ensure that the right initiatives and necessary steps are being put into action. How do you balance this fragile relationship, and what are the frequent challenges that you are facing on this journey?
I don't know where to start. There are so many challenges, I must admit. Yeah, the sentence that you mentioned, what is my role in our company? Because we were talking about cooperation between startups and between a corporation, which is a whole, I would say, separate segment for discussion. Then we have people that we are working in a team. You know, everybody has their own interests, and the role of a manager or the role of a, I would say, actual leader is basically to convince people to run in the same direction, and I think that this is the biggest challenge because I used to work as a logistic manager in Kolektor for, I don't know, 10 years on different locations. And I think that basically, I think that the role of the leader or somebody who's in charge of the people, regardless of whether this is a startup or a coworker or somebody else, is basically to pave the ground to, I would say, to enable the people to exploit their full potential. So basically, my role is to make sure that they get the working environment so they can fulfill their full potential. And I think that this is the role, or this is the leadership, basically, to provide your coworkers with I would say, conditions, the environment, so they can do their best. So this means that everything runs smoothly so that they can work their best. So basically, there are a lot of challenges, and you have to listen very well in order to detect, I would say, potential, I would say, misfits, potential clashes, and so on. And you have to solve them, I would say, sooner or later. And I think that sooner is the best way to solve them. So it's basically you're just trying to convince people, and in a rational way, of course, that we are all in the same boat. So we have a common interest, and you work on a common interest, because after all, we have to run in the same direction. This is why we are here. Yeah.
Even Mark Twain said, the secret of getting ahead is getting started. So for the conclusion, based on your experience, what would you recommend to the other colleagues where to pay attention on their journey when pivoting their business in a new direction, when implementing a new operating model?
Okay, I will put myself in the shoes of the corporation, not in the shoes of a startup or some other, I would say, partner in the development, but in the shoes of the corporation, because we are really, in a way, we are not faced with so many unknowns. Yeah. So basically, when we are trying to reach a new market or new customers, or you are developing a new product, there are 90% of unknowns and only 10% of known facts. Yeah. If you are a corporation, you are just dealing with 10 to 5% of unknown things because you are an established business. And when you are trying to go on the other side, so basically the full diversification, you are basically mentally becoming a startup. You're basically are facing with many more unknowns than knowns. And we had a discussion in the company. It was really funny because in a startup world, pivot is not something bad. Yeah. You are pivoting almost all the time. You are pivoting your customer segment, the market. You are pivoting your development process, the product, and so on. You are constantly pivoting, and you are trying to learn from this experience. So when you come to the, I would say, the corporation side, pivot is usually, I would say, a synonym for a mistake, but this is not really true. So you have to mentally shift that you are learning from experience, even though this is a negative one, which is not really bringing always the results. But you have to learn that mistakes are not really something that is really bad. I think that this is maybe integrated in our Slovenian culture because we have to do things right from the first time. Yeah. But basically, I would advise all corporations that you have to leave some space also for pivoting, also for, I would say, mistakes, and learn from them. I think that this is the biggest takeaway, that you have to learn from mistakes, not repeat them, but you do have to take something out of the, I would say, unsuccessful actions and do things differently next time.
Fully agree. I could not have said it better. Mateja, as you pointed out, everything begins with an idea, bold aspirations and tough choices. But at the end of the day, it's all about people, passion, and commitment. The commitment to make innovation an essential part of the organization's growth and future success, not a vague hope, fallback options, or happy accident. This means embedding innovation in the heart of objectives, orienting and organizing resources accordingly, and go beyond possible while holding leaders and their teams accountable for results. Thank you very much, Mateja.
Thank you.
Great to have you with us.
It was a pleasure to have this discussion, and I hope that you will successfully continue with Switch On podcast. So thumbs up.
Thank you. The pleasure was mine, Mateja. This podcast is brought to you by Drop of Milk, an impact-driven business consultancy and expert on customer-focused digital transformation. You can learn more at dropofmilk.com.